Lech acharei b'midbar, v'yeretz lo zarua. Go after me through the desert in the land that is not, that doesn't have any vegetation, any growth. It's not grown. Comes Alter Rebbe in the Torah where he speaks about this, and he says that to the contrary, the whole point of our work in the world is to transform the desert, to make the loy zarua, the land of no, where there is nothing, not the land of no growth, but take the land of nothing, the eretz lo, and zarua, make it grow. And that is our work. Of course, it is to be holy and sacred and all that, but those are for special occasions, for Shabbat, or for the holidays. But the majority of the days of the year is about, is to work. The same 10 Commandments that tell us to keep the Sabbath, Shabbat, says before, and to work 6 days, you should work. One could say even that if you're not working for 6 days, and you just get that, then that will affect the observance of Shabbos itself. The whole point of Shabbat is rest of work. But if you're not working, then what are you resting from on Shabbat, right? Of course, you're still keeping Shabbat, but the point is that it's like it says, Adam la'amal yulad. The person is born to labor, to work, to be productive. Not to sound like that we're just beings of labor, heaven forbid. This isn't like a Marxist take on human productivity, and we're just units of labor, heaven forbid. No, we are endowed with energy to make productive and positive and healthy transformation of our lives and even of the physical world, and to make it something of higher, greater status. That is what we mean by work. And honestly, we know that the people that are doing healthy, positive work, especially the work that they like, feel much better about themselves than people that don't work, that are trust fund people or won the lotto or whatever. There's something beautiful. I just spoke with my father this evening, and he just told me something about my grandfather who worked for the government in an important position for 45 years. And he was very noble and honest in his work. And he never tried to use government connections for anything. So after he finished 45 years and he was officially retired, the one time in his life, I reached out to his wife's family who had connections with the Ministry of Labor and what have you, was if they could work on, please, that he could continue to work, that he wants us to continue, doesn't want to retire, doesn't want to be forced to retire just because of a certain, designated age where everyone has to. And that's, that is a real, that shows real ethic, passion, meaning of life, and whatever one is doing. So that is what we're here for. This is to create, to transform the desert into a field. And that comes in the state of especially that is also the state of royalty too, of being able to make what seems like almost the impossible possible. There was that motto of early Zionism that were to make the desert blossom. And the early Zionists, like there were those like Ben Gurion, I think Arik Sharon was also where they deliberately had lands in the Negev, in the south of Israel, and were very proud of making it grow like great lush gardens. And in fact, there are areas in the world that places where naturally it wouldn't grow, and there, whether it was the hanging gardens of Babylon or other places, which that was the whole point, to transform the areas of arid areas into great lushness, and that is the elevation. So that's what we mean when we say not just the king is in the field, but we many kings and queens, we are in the field. That we're here to elevate and make the world a better place for you and for me and for the entire human race. To quote, "We are the world," and that comes, as we were saying last week, with that being empowered, feeling the responsibility, the pride that this world is our world, it's for us to make better, and to embody that almost like that king, that royal type of superpower to accomplish it, so to speak. So in fact, we see that also in the very name and word of king in Hebrew, how it's something that we all can focus, that when we take all of our faculties, our mind, our heart, our practical applications, and have it well aligned, properly focused, and channeled in the best of right ways, then we can embody that possibility to accomplish in great levels. Or Chaf, which incidentally is interesting because it's almost backwards backwards in the Hebrew alphabet, because in the Hebrew alphabet it's Yud Chaf Lamed Mem. And here we're going Mem Lamed Chaf, backwards. So what does that remind you of right off the bat? It reminds us, again, like we were speaking last week, of the motto of this month of Elul, Ani Ledodi, the Dodili. It's about us making the first move, ascending to the divine, to the beloved, and the beloved responding. The Ani Ledodi is going upward, right? It's from bottom up, and Dodili is from up down. So already in the word melech, we see that theme of us going, ascending, going out of ourselves, going up to the king, welcoming, getting out of our just regular ways of being, ascending, right, to something higher. On top of, again, these three letters, Mem, Lamed, Chaf, so it's brought down that these represent the three parts of us that are aligned from head to toe. And this way it's going from up down. And that is Moach, the brain, the mind, Lev, the heart, Chaf is Kaved, the liver, which is also represents the digestive, the appetitive, as Plato will call it. And these are also, it's all, if you look at even in classical literature and philosophy, they also speak about the human being in this tripartite construct. And by extension, if I recall, Plato in the Republic extends this to the macro of the Republic, the city, the polis itself, society itself. They're the people of the head, the people of the heart, the people of the liver, so to speak, of the digestion. And we need all three. We need the ma, the heart, and the right, the mind, but the mind is what controls and directs the heart. Otherwise, the heart is just totally has no focus. And then that's to be applied through the liver, meaning in a way that is integrated, that's digested. In fact, in Chabad teachings, we speak about this, about moach shalit ala lev, about the mind having not just controlling is maybe too strong of a word, the heart, but it means to direct the heart. Yeah, you could say a control mechanism for the heart not to be not to go off the charts, so to speak. And then the heart is its best. And not only that, the mind could also ignite the heart when you focus and are aware of the positive, the good, the warm. For example, focusing on the love of the divine, right? That's the Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. That's being the meditative state of the presence of the divine and the unity of God. And once you're fully immersed in that cognitively, then that produces the ve'ahavta, the love comes out of that. And then you apply it in action, so to speak, in ways in our life. That is represented by the liver. Okay, so this is the vart. Now, when I was looking at this earlier today or last night in bed, I was thinking about this, and this came to me, and this is something I didn't see anyone mention. But look at the last letters of Moach, Lev, and Kaved. What does it spell out? It spells out Chabad. Ches Beis Daled, I mean. Right? It's because, first of all, even the heart has its aspect. The heart is also the area of Bina. The base of Chabad is Bina. So Moach is Chachma, that's where the idea generates from, or whatever cognition. Bina is the way we absorb it into our emotional faculties. Bina, that's also the feminine intelligence. So that's associated with the heart. Then the Dalid, the Das, as brought down in Tanya, many other places, is the integrative part of intellectual. It's applied intelligence, which is again represented by this concept of the liver. Kaved also means to be heavy and hard. This idea I mentioned before that we spoke about last week also about Nila Dadi Vidadili. That the first thing that the Elul represents represents us going up to the divine, and then Tishrei, meaning Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, is of the divine responding down to us. So this ascent, going up, is in fact reflected in the name of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, as we've been going through every month. That the name of God has different permutations dependent on that month. For example, the Yud Kei, the way we know it spelled out is Nisan, and so on and so forth. For this month, it's spelled out this way. And Kabbalistically, it's spelled out this way. Hey, Vav Yud. What does that show you? Hey, we know the Heys. If we look at Yud Kei Vav Kei as two pairs, Yud Kei and the Vav Kei. So the Heys are always the receivers, is the lower level. So the Hey is the recipient of the Yud on the higher dimension. The second Hey is recipient of the Vav on the lower dimension. So having double Heys means that we're starting on our level, us, so-called ordinary beings in the field, even farmers in the field, let's call us ourselves. We're just sort of called on the recipient level, whether we're in the lower or higher rungs of the dimensions, but we're still the Heys. Also, Heys represent the feminine, as we know. So the second Hey is Malchut. The first Hey here would be Malchut. The second Hey would be Bina. So it's first Heys, and then we work our way up to the next higher level, the Vav, which is the Zerampin, the masculine above, and then to the very highest pinnacle of Yud. So again, we see in the permutation of the name of Hashem for this month, also this idea of ascent from low to high. And incidentally, this name, this Hey Vav Yud formulation of God's name, is intimated in a verse in the beginning of Dvarim. I think it's chapter Dalet, where it says, and it should be charity for us. It means it'll be righteous for us to follow all the way of Hashem and the mitzvah and so on. So the last letters of these four words, tzedakah, tia, lanu, ki, is Hey Vav Yud. What are the ways to get up, to ascend this way from our in the field all the way to the king's palace? That is what we were speaking about last week. The different acronyms for Elul, and here they are here. Anila Dodi Vidodi Li, Harav Shashanin, that we spoke about last week. which represents prayer, tefillah, which as you see on your screen. The city of refuge, Yadiv Santillah, which represents Torah, because Torah is a place of absorption, rescue, saving our spiritual souls. Okay. Then charity, so to speak, from the Megillah, right? Giving charity. Then teshuvah, which is to circumcise your heart and the heart of your children. And then that all leads to the ultimate redemption. Right? Or Lashem, Lashem, and that should go the redemption. So that is the way to make this, to do the right things of reaching above. Also, one more acronym for Elul, and this is in the words from Shir Shirin, that that my beloved is compared to a deer, or to a what's Ofer Hayalim is also like a ibex, or it's like a deer, like
I think it's called a hart, H-A-R-T.
Oh, heart. Okay, H-A-R-T. Good, thank you. Yeah, Ofer is a popular name for modern Israelis. Ayal also. So there, the let's be the lamed, and then you have the word O, is the aleph vav, and the lamed from the Ofer. So again, we see this idea of the shir shir hanin l'dadili embedded, or encoded in the name Elul. Again, we're just filling in like different aspects related to Elul for people. So here's another for Elul. Elul is gematria. It's 67. It's the same gematria as the word bina. And as we were just speaking about before, that in the word melech, the leiv, the heart, and the beis, that also represents bina. The other one, this I heard from a friend yesterday, told me Elul, misper katan is 13. You know what misper katan means? Misper katan means that if you just count the single digit of something, let's say instead of 30, you consider it 3. Instead of 10, it is 1, right? So that way, Aleph is 1, Lamed, which is 30, is really 3, Vav is 6, and a second Lamed is another 3. Together, that is 13. What is 13? We know gematria, and we've gone through this several times. And I'll just type it in. Oops, I don't know what happened there. Ahava, right. I think I'm just going to write it out. Ahava, and also, like you said, echad, right? Okay. So there you have that. So again, that love motif that is associated, that Elul represents. One more, the words. If you spell out the word, if the letter of Aleph as a word, Aleph Lamed Pei, and this is called a milui. And same thing, Lamed, as Lamed and Daled, that is gematria 185. Which 185 is gematria ni l'dodi v'dodi li. I didn't figure this out. Someone did. But there you are again. You see, even in the Aleph Lam, in Elul itself, you already have a ni l'dodi v'dodi li, okay? There's another vart that I don't have. I think I may have mentioned this last year. If I don't have it written down here, and I will write it down now. Another meaning to the name Elul is this: Aleph Lul. Lul is the lulaot. Lulaot, I mean. If you remember in where it speaks about making the curtains, the canopies for the Mishkan, for the tabernacle, and that they hold them together with these. I'm gonna go out screen share just to show with my fingers, to show these like these loops and hooks to hold the to hold the curtains and to bring them together, or also with the garments of the priest, high priest. So the lulaot are basically things that connect, like again, they have a round hole loop and then a hook that goes through it to hold it together like this. Okay. So that's a lul. That's a lul, and then in plural it's lulaot, which has the mamish the letters of Elul in it, lamet lulaot, right? And that is again the idea that this is the month that we the dodi, we are connecting like these lulos, like these loophole hooks with the divine. We're being linked up and holding together. Okay. Thing is, if you take the word Elul, split it up into two, you'll have two words that we know. One word lo, which means no, and the word lo to him. There's a pasuk. I'm gonna type it out. It says bechol. Oopsie. Bechol sarei sav loy sar. So that in all of his pain, sorrow, sufferings, it's one way to read it. It's what we know as a kri and a ksiv. It's written one way and you read it another way. It says lotzar. I think it says lotzar actually with a vav. Is with pain, with suffering, but we read it as lotzar. Wait, in other words, as an aleph, right? So it's almost flipping the meaning. Not that there is no suffering, that both said that there is suffering with the sufferings, and then it becomes that there is no sufferings with the sufferings, okay? So we see that Elul reflects these very opposites, that aspect of, again, as we were saying, that we could transform even the negative, the lie, the no, into something positive. Lie, from the lie with the aleph to a lie with a vav, to him, that it is positive, okay? And as we were saying before, the whole idea, and as we're going to see also soon, also related to our Pasha, is about transformation as much as possible. Now, deeper Kabbalistically too, when we say no, no doesn't mean necessarily a negative nothing, negativity, but it could actually mean something of the highest level. Like you could say nothing as that there's nothing, or you could say no thing, right? That there is a state beyond the yes, which is the no, where there is not, where it's beyond anything. That is the no. According to Kabbalah, Keter, the highest level, is represented actually by the word loy, no. Like there's a verse that says, I'll type it out here too. Netzach Yisrael lo ye shaker, that the eternity or that endurance of Israel cannot be a falsity, of lie. And it's brought down in Kabbalah and Chassidus that this state of Israel being netzach, a total endurance, victory, that those confidence that comes from the level of low, of that keter, the highest level in Sefirot, above Sefirot even, which is state of that low. That's Yishak here, right? Like even we say the highest level in the Godhead, so to speak, is Reisha Deloy Yada, the head that is unknowable, the unknowable, the unknown, the no. So that is Keter. And then the Lamed Vav represents the Zer Ampin, the six spheros. Chesed word Tiferes Netzachad Yisod, which is the way things manifest in emotions, in behavior. Why do you think it is? Because it's 36 specifically, both because it's low for him, and him, the masculine in Sefirot, of the main base of Sefirot are the six Sefirot, the Chesed word Tiferes, but it's also because, let me just spell this out, because 36 is 6 times 6. 6 times 6 equals 36, as all those means that it's the way the Sefirot are fully fleshed, the six Sefirot of Chesed Gvur Tiferes Netzach Yisod are fully fleshed out into 36, and that's the That's the Lamed Vav is 36, right? Okay, so that is again what Elul is accomplishing. It is taking from that highest level. You could see it both ways, but for us working down here, it's like we were saying earlier in the world, and transforming and elevating it to the highest level from our Zer Ampin, from our sixth Sphirot down here, and all the way up to the highest level of Keter, the way over there. Just one or two more just short points on Elul. You know, the custom is in this month, there are different customs for the month of Elul. One of them is, of course, the blow shofar. Maybe we'll speak about it another time, maybe next week if we have time. The other is to say a chapter in Psalms, in prayers at the end of in Shachritz and in Mincha, right? The first what?
27.
Yeah, is it 27? Yeah, I think so, right? So it's
Marie.
Yeah, it's so it's, right. So the David Hashem Arivi Yishi, and that's we have a Chatchalti Meis Hashem Meis Avake, she be Meis Hashem and all that. And the second to the last verse, the penultimate, is this verse here. It says, "Lule hemanti liras b'tuv Hashem Eretz Chaim." Right? If not for, I would believe to see the good of God in the land of the living, and then Kavel Hashem, and give hope, having hope and perseverance. Hashem, melech. The word Lule is exactly the letters Elul backwards. Again, in an ascension way, starting from the last letter going up. And also, right, the word Lule means if not for, right? Like we say, Lule teras chashashuai, if not for, we say this in Psalms 119, if not for Torah being my cherished plaything, Azavadati and Anya would have been lost in my poverty. So if not for, so that again is the idea. We're taking the negative, the not for, and making it something positive. We're taking the lulay, the negative, the loy, so to speak, and making it manti, that state of full faith and munah, and even more to see the good of the positive of the divine and right openly, to see it in a revealed state. One more thing, and this is related to what we were speaking about last week of Elul being the beginning of the romance of our first meeting and falling in love with God, so to speak, which leads to the wedding, which is Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and so on. But the word Hilula, which means wedding celebration in Aramaic, like we call Lag BaOmer, the day of Hilula of Rabbi Shimon Yochai. So the word Hilula ends off also with the letters Lule, also Elul backwards.